and welcome to the Citizen Report. I'm Jonathan Shannon in North Carolina. My co-host David Heller is off today, but I'm joined by my good friend Nicky from the great state of South Carolina. And Nicky, I knew at some point we would probably do this, and it's so great
Yes.
to have you on. How are you today?
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
That's
Fun to
great.
talk about something like this for a change. We've been friends for a while and met on Facebook, and I think we went to a movie screening somewhere along
Yes.
the line.
I
Yeah.
think twice, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, in
Okay.
Charlotte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one thing I do. I write movie reviews, and I'm a blogger, and kind of a stay-at-home mom, but my major in school was journalism, so this has always been my heartbeat to talk
Right.
about things like this.
Right.
Yeah.
And you and I have kind of connected in that way as well, because I'm also interested in that field. And,
Right.
we're both
Yeah.
Christians. So, the
Yep.
friendship just worked out real well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and today, I thought we'd talk a little bit about Operation Paperclip, Operation
Okay.
Mockingbird, and we'll just see how this conversation goes. How about that?
Great. Great.
Okay. So I think the first thing everyone should know about, I think we'll start with Paperclip, Operation
Okay.
Paperclip. So basically, the deep state of this country back after World War II basically efforted to bring over, it looks like about 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technicians to the United States, actually, to work in our government and really the deep state. And the thing about Operation Paperclip is that these Nazis, the people of the Nazi Party, they should have been tried for war crimes. And
Right.
and the thing that will shock people is that for many of them, instead of facing war crimes, they actually were brought over here and worked within our government. If I'm not mistaken, I believe they worked on the space program, among other things. And Nicky, I'm just really interested to know what you have to think and what you know about this topic.
Well, uh, there's a guy named Warner Van Braun, and he was one of the scientists who was made head of NASA. And he was brought over from Germany, and he was a very unscrupulous person. He ran a rocket factory in Germany, and he was known for uh, kind of taking out pinning out the slowest workers in his factory who were Jews, and then hanging them in the front of the factory for everybody to see, and kind of a warning that if you don't, you know, keep up your speed, you'll be hanged too. And
Right.
he didn't seem to have any conscience about it. And like you said, if under normal circumstances he could be tried for crimes against humanity, but instead he was brought to America and made head of NASA, and he was there from July 1, 1960, and he held the position for 27 years until January 1970. And one of the things he was involved in was the 4-inch flight with the Mercury Redstone rocket. And he was also involved in the first lunar landing of the moon in July 20th, 1969.
Wow. I mean, most people, when they watch the mainstream media, of course, mainstream media is not going to tell them any of this. I mean, people think
Yeah,
that when they think of NASA, they think of this perfectly, what's the word? I guess patriotic organization. In a lot of ways,
yeah,
it is, but unfortunately, it was infiltrated from the very beginning by these type of
yeah,
people, and
yeah.
it's just shocking to me because I'm still learning about this as we're just talking here, and
Right.
and the fact that you have people from the Nazis brought over to
A
this country.
criminal, a criminal. So yeah,
Exactly, a criminal, a
yeah,
war criminal too. And to actually work within our government, I just think that
yeah,
many people will probably find that hard to believe. But if you look up this information, it's public information now. It's
yeah.
it's it's confirmed.
Right. Yeah. It's unsettling,
Yeah.
and you wonder why did they do that?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense, really.
Right.
Yeah.
well, the deep state doesn't make sense. They,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I maybe to put somebody in a position of power that didn't have a conscience about
right,
doing things that were wrong. Maybe
right.
that's what they wanted. Yeah.
Perhaps. I mean, you fast forward to today, and the things that the deep state, the the things that they do, just like back, just as much back then, they just don't make any sense, because they do violent things against people. If they need to
Right.
off one person, they will bring down an entire plane to do it.
Right.
That's how they
Right.
operate. And
Yeah.
so when you really start to look at things like that, it starts to, in a way, make sense why they're willing to operate like that. Because if they
Mm.
want to
Yeah.
accomplish a certain agenda to further the deep state, then they'll do whatever they have to do.
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of giving everyone an overview of both of these things. And Nikki, if you'd like to, I'll just give everyone an overview as well of the Operation Mockingbird.
Okay.
Um, so the Operation Mockingbird essentially was the best way to put it is basically a CIA operation. And again, this is stuff that's public information too. And basically, the CIA over time infiltrated the mainstream media, and over time, the mainstream media, and really, to be perfectly honest about it, I don't think there was ever a time that the mainstream media was perfectly independent, for the lack of a better word.
Mm.
But it got progressively worse from I'd say about the 1960s onward. And now, basically the CIA has been efforting to control what people see and hear on the mainstream media. And in fact, Nikki, I don't know how much you know about this, but it's my understanding that Anderson Cooper
Right.
was basically had interned at CNN many years back, and there's been widespread speculation that he's actually still part of that organization.
Yeah, they say he came from the farm, is how they put it, and
Hmm.
he was a CIA operative. He interned with the CIA, and you wonder how he got that, but maybe because his mother's Gloria Vanderbilt, and a very wealthy family, position of power, and again, deep state, you know,
Exactly.
deep state agenda, and it's been documented and shown that Gloria Vanderbilt, that whole family, they were involved in Luciferian pedophilia.
Yeah.
And it's, when you first hear that, that sounds shocking. But I
Right.
really recommend that film, The Fall of Cabal, Part 1
Hmm.
through 10.
Yeah.
You can find it on BitChute. There's some places where it's still on YouTube. They've removed it several times, but it's
Right.
been reloaded. But a Dutch journalist made that video, and it's an eye opener.
Right.
People say, no way, no way can that possibly happen, but it's hidden in plain sight.
Right.
And I remember not too long ago that we got free passes to the Biltmore house
Mm.
in Asheville. We went to look around, and it was right there on the paintings, on the walls. You would look at these children that were portrayed in the pictures, and
Hmm.
you'd look real closely, and you'd see there were like little devil horns coming out of a baby
Wow.
or one of the children. Um, they would have they were making satanic gestures with their hands in the paintings. Um, Sometimes there were gargoyles in the painting or little demons laughing. I mean, there was something up. It just,
Yeah.
you see that, you're like, there's something not right, because a normal family wouldn't have all that. They wouldn't have pentagrams in their paintings and stuff like that. I mean, there's something up there.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
I have been very close to Biltmore, going to and from Knoxville on
Yeah.
I-40, and you can actually see the Biltmore. But for me personally, I have only been inside the Biltmore one time, when I was about 10 years old. And
Okay.
I think I was even in that room where I guess it's like a pool, like an indoor kind of pool.
The
Um,
pool, the swimming pool.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think it was enclosed indoors somehow. And
Yeah.
you know,
It's in the house. It's in the bottom level of the house. And
right,
of course it's an empty pool, so it just looks like uh,
like a
it's just a
pit.
space. Yeah, a pit.
Yeah, like a pit
And
with a ceramic, maybe,
but
perhaps.
I remember that it just got a really weird feeling looking at the pictures and what went on here. There's pictures of children with their hands tied in the
Mm.
pool area. I mean, just very strange. And some people say that some of those people in the paintings, they look like Anderson Cooper,
Oh,
like a little
really?
boy. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So that's very possible, I guess.
Yeah.
But Anderson Cooper, he has a brother. Well, he did have a brother, and then that brother committed suicide. So, yeah, there are a lot of problems with that family. She's been married several times. Well, she passed away. And there were also some stories that she was taking adrenochrome, things like that.
And if people don't know what
Um,
adrenochrome is, I mean, this is going to get a little graphic, I should tell people, but basically they get a child into fear. And then as the child's in fear, they literally extract, I think it's the pineal gland.
yeah.
And that's how the deep state, certain elites, that's how they think that they can stay youthful. I mean, it's completely
Mhm.
diabolical, barbaric, evil, whatever word you
Right.
want to use. But that is how these people seem to think. And it's
Yeah.
just, if people don't believe in God, I'll just say this, if you take, all you have to do is take a look at them, because they do believe in good and evil, because they want to be on the side of evil. That's how they are. They want
Yeah.
to operate in that realm. And it's so opposite to anything good. It's impossible to deny that you have to acknowledge that there's a God, because everything they do is completely antithetical, opposite to that, because that's what they want. They want to be on that side, doing
Yeah.
things to children. Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange, and it's been suggested that they get those children from orphanages.
Yeah.
They get them from countries like Haiti or even American orphanages, where it's quick and easy, and it can be covered up,
Yeah.
and nobody will ask what happened to that little boy.
Right.
They'll tell you that he's been adopted or something, but
Right.
in reality, something sinister has happened to that little boy.
Yeah. It's disturbing to think about.
Yeah,
And I mean, I don't know what you know about this, Nikki, but actually, I do remember not too long ago, I remember somebody talking about that they literally birth children for these purposes. Like they
yeah,
literally, some elites literally do this. They bring children into this world for whatever reason they want to do to them.
yeah. For child sacrifice and
Yeah.
sickening pedophilia acts. Yeah,
And yet, the funny thing is that, President Trump, he's been like, I failed to remember exactly when. I want to say December 2017, he put out an executive order to basically go after assets of those involved with child trafficking, if I'm not mistaken. And it's very obvious that Trump is at war with the deep state, and not just that, but especially those involved with doing these kind of things to children. And I don't know what you think about this, Nikki, but back during the COVID-19 debacle, with the Mercy and Comfort,
right.
those ships, and I keep seeing these pictures, and they just did
Yeah,
something, just seemed a little off. Like they didn't quite look like the rank and file members of the public that were getting help
yeah.
from COVID-19. It looked something different. Like they weren't showing the
Hmm.
faces for the most
Yeah.
part, at least,
Mhm.
but something just seemed off. It was almost like they just came from, like their hair was dirty. It just looked really, something seemed really off. And I just wonder, Nikki, if it's possible that Trump, you know, deep state did what they did with this virus, but Trump decided to use that to their advantage to go after the child
Mhm.
traffic, some of these
Right.
child trafficking
Right.
rings. What do you think
Mhm.
about that?
Yeah, that's what X-22 report said.
Yeah.
And if anyone's listening and they don't know about the X-22 report, it's a free report, a news broadcast on YouTube and BitChute. It's broadcast 6 days a week, every day but Saturday.
right.
It's pretty short, but I love watching it, and
Me too.
Jonathan told me about it, and it's a way to find out what's happening in the world apart from the mainstream media. And he
Right.
also talks about the Q post, which is really interesting. And then he's a guy named Dave narrates it, and it just gives you a different perspective. But he did talk about the Mersey ships, the Comfort, and that it was used to rescue child trafficking.
Hmm.
And he even said that it blocked a big tunnel in New York where child traffickers would use.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, the ships were standing in the way, guarding it. The Navy was watching that, and they brought people out of the tunnel, rescued them.
Wow.
Um,
I actually didn't know that.
yeah,
So this is, I'm just learning this now.
yeah,
Wow. I mean, where was the tunnel, like at the harbor? I'm assuming it had to be at the
right
harbor.
behind the ship. Right behind the ship is a big tunnel.
Wow.
And evidently they brought children out of that tunnel. They brought trafficked adults, teenagers, all ages, even babies, and they took care of them on the ships.
Wow.
That's
I
yeah.
mean, it's just, you think about the past presidents that we've had and how especially like Obama and Clinton and some of these
Yeah.
others, they've allowed this stuff to go on, and then now we have a president that's actually taking on this kind of thing. And I
Yeah.
think that, here's the thing about the media, and circling back to Operation Mockingbird, I believe. Um, when people watch the mainstream media, they get divided. They think that
Right.
things are something when they're not. Like
Hmm.
for instance, and this couldn't be a more timely interview in this regard too, and that is these riots that are going on,
Yeah.
and
Right.
how the mainstream media is literally stirring this stuff up, and they're saying things are happening. Like for instance, I believe it was MSNBC. Now there was some question as to whether this was actually whether MSNBC actually did this, but apparently, there's, as far as I can tell, it's legitimate. They literally had a some kind of footage from the movie World War Z up, and they were
Yeah.
portraying
Yeah.
that. Yeah, they were portraying that
Yeah.
as the riots. And in
Yeah.
case people don't know what World War Z is, it's actually a movie about zombies. And if you actually, if I would assume, if you look closely, people aren't exactly walking like they're normal
Yeah.
people. They're zombies. Of course, I don't believe in
Yeah.
zombies, but I'm just saying, that's how it probably looked.
Well, they took a little segment of the movie
Right.
and they made it look like reality, but
And
there weren't
helicopter
any
shot.
zombies in the film. Yeah, it was a helicopter shot, but
Yeah.
it just shows how they're trying to make a false narrative,
Right.
trying to make people believe what they want us to believe
Right.
rather than the truth. One thing that I learned in journalism school was the myth of objectivity.
Hmm.
We're always taught that the news is objective. They don't take an opinion one way or another,
Right.
but everybody has an opinion. Everybody,
Absolutely.
even if you're trying to be neutral, you've got an opinion. You
Right.
have something within you that you think is right and
Right.
something you think's wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like when they say that the protests are peaceful, and and they're trying to pretend to be objective, and I'm thinking to myself, who
Yeah.
said they're peaceful? I'm not saying that there isn't something out there that's peaceful, but when I look at the footage, I have to say it's very violent. It's, you got these
Yeah.
Antifa, Black
Mhm.
Lives Matter, that's been
Right.
hijacked, of course, but it's not peaceful, but they're out there saying it's peaceful. It's
Yeah.
like, also too, the MSNBC reporter was literally out there in front of something on fire, and he was saying most of these are peaceful, and it's just like,
It's just ridiculous. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think a thing I want people to understand is that the media, they want us to be divided as a country, because that's how
Right.
they can conquer
Right.
us.
Divided by
Um,
race now with that.
right.
Yeah.
And I know that when I watch the mainstream media, that's all I see is division. But if I go
Right.
out and about, I go to the store and everything, and I encounter Black people, and they treat me with absolute respect. So I know it's
Yeah.
not what it
Hmm.
seems, that what the
Yeah.
media wants me to think. And I just think I just want people to understand that the media, they want you to never, they don't want us coming together, because if we unite as a country, I think it's then, and Q has kind of hinted at this, it's going to be then that that we can move forward with some of these things, making it public. I think that Q has even mentioned that one of the first arrests, the big arrests, if you will,
Yeah.
when that's made public, that will cause a mass awakening. There's been
I
widespread.
can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm so eager. And I know we've been waiting since Easter. We
Yeah.
thought some big news was going to come around Easter with Good
Right.
Friday. Can't be soon enough. But
Exactly.
yeah, we have to be patient too, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, this thing's been going on for decades, really hundreds of years. Because if you really track back where all this goes, it goes back to the Vatican. And
Yeah,
that
right.
thing's been in place for centuries. And, to bring all that down I cannot imagine how difficult it must be being in Trump's shoes and the Patriots' shoes, because they recruited Trump to do this, but, to front this. But it's just, I cannot even begin to imagine what he has to go through on a daily basis. But something else I'll mention too is that the president, he's, like he went out to that church that was set afire in Washington.
Oh yeah, that's St. John's Cathedral. Yeah,
and he held up a Bible, and the mainstream media was, of course, it goes back to what you said about the fallacy of objectivity. That they called that a photo op. Even Fox News has called that a photo op. And I'm thinking to myself, I know that's a derogatory term, because to me, it's not a photo op. It's just him trying to use that as a moment to unite the country and say, we will get through this together.
Yeah. It's subtle, it's sometimes it's very subtle.
Exactly.
But those of us who are awake and aware, we know that there's deception. And even things like that, to call Trump's visit to St. John's Cathedral a photo op, that's implying that he's trying to keep up appearances. He's trying to do public relations. Maybe he's a hypocrite. He's not really a churchgoer, but he is in that picture. I mean, it's just ridiculous. That the vile hatred towards Trump, I think that this is some of the worst that we've seen in a long time. I remember way back when Bush was president, that the media hated Dan Quayle, and every attempt tried to make him appear to be a bumbling idiot. And now they're doing it with Trump. You know, just ridiculous.
But I think the difference is that now there's enough people awake that the media knows this, that people aren't buying it anymore nearly as much as they used to.
Right.
They're going online. Like I having studied broadcasting, and I keep up with that kind of thing, I know that the ad revenue and things like that, it's going down. But if you look at the alternative media, people are energized in the alternative media, and they try to blame it on, people are watching less TV, and that may be true to some extent. But the thing is, though,
a lot of people are disgusted with the news, and they don't want to be a part of it anymore. And we look for alternative news like X22, the OAN network.
Right.
I watch Fox from time to time. Yeah, Newsmax. I mean, even Fox, I think, is a lot of times anti-Trump in the way that they predict, show things.
Yeah, it's really odd, because Hannity is obviously for Trump, and the prime time ones. Yeah, I like him. And by the way, he was wearing the I think it's called the Punisher.
The Punisher pin.
Which I think, I'm not sure, but I have a suspicion that he keeps up with the Q post, because that's one of those things that Q posts a lot. Yeah. So, there's some good things still coming. You
want to explain that real quick? The Punisher, it means pain, right? To give pain to those people, the criminals that are doing injustice.
Right. I think the best way to put it simply is that basically it's just a symbol that as I understand it, the Patriots are going after the deep state, and every time they leak something out, as David X22 likes to say, it causes pain, because they don't want this information out there, and every time it comes out, it wakes more people up, and it gets them thinking critically about the deep state. And I think that
Yeah.
it just shows, we're moving forward and going after these people. And it's exciting. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
I have waited a long time because years back, even before Q came along, I knew something was terribly wrong with the mainstream media.
Yeah.
And me trying to, me wanting to go into broadcasting, I'm thinking, gosh, I don't know how I could ever work for these people. And now that Q's come along, it's really helped me to see that, one, I'm not alone. There's a lot of other people just like me that
Yeah.
want truth from the media, but you're not going to get it from the mainstream side, of course.
Right. Right.
But also, these people that that they want to put out lies out there, it's just getting less and less effective. If you notice, these riots, they're already failing because,
Right.
they wanted to start something and they hope they could take Trump out with this, just like COVID-19, and people are asking questions. And now they got to
Yeah.
find something else. You can already tell they're already starting to try to find something else to pivot to. And what that is, I don't know yet, but
Do you follow Candace Owen? 'Cause she
not
has
as
some really good
close.
insights too
I like her.
about the riots and stuff.
I
Yeah.
like her. I will say I don't. I haven't kept up with her as much as I should. I basically X22 is the number one source I turn to.
Right. Right.
But definitely I need to keep up with her more. But she has excellent insights. She really, really does.
Yeah.
And I too wonder. I wonder also about her whether she keeps up with Q. Some of these
Yeah.
people may not
Right.
want to say that they
Yeah.
do, but um,
Hmm.
because she might get blacklisted from Fox News. I mean, just to be
Right.
perfectly honest about it. But I just think I think people just need to understand that, as you watch the media, because I see people do this every time they turn on the media, they get fearful and they think that doom and gloom and, but
Yeah.
when you turn off the media and you look at alternative news and
Yeah. A
and
lot of
you
times they offer hope. You know,
exactly.
I mean, the whole time that these riots have been going on, behind the scenes, Obama's being brought to charges for treason.
Hmm.
Hillary's been brought in for charges
Yeah.
with the email scandals.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, but the deep state wants us to focus on the riots, on Black
Right.
Lives Matter and racial division and
Right.
all that. But
And
yeah,
exactly. And I don't know how far you want to go down this road, but I I can't help but, when I look at that footage of that guy with his knee on the neck of that guy,
yeah, mhm,
something just seems really off about that because,
yeah,
as someone else put it, someone else picked up on this, and thinking about it, I agree. It's like the guy's looking at the camera, and it's almost like he's looking to make sure he's
yeah.
on camera.
Well, also he said, "I can't breathe." He said it
Yeah.
like 7 times.
Hmm.
If you're really in a case like that,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to say it that
Yeah.
maybe once if you're lucky.
Yeah.
If you're like
You'll
choking
be
for air,
hoarse like this,
yeah.
exactly. You don't have the
I
full
mean,
resonance of your
yeah,
voice, coming through, right?
yeah. And
Yeah.
first there was footage where it was just one cop, and then it made it look like there were 4 of them putting him in the police car.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just there were a lot of inconsistencies with the angles,
And the different
um,
badges too.
different
And the
badges.
badge being crooked, just looking
Yeah,
something just
right.
almost, yeah, just something to,
Yeah,
it might be legit or, we don't know, but I just,
yeah,
there's just stuff there that, people need to ask questions about and get
yeah.
answers to.
And they say there's also a Freemasonry angle to it. It
Oh,
occurred
really?
on like East 33rd Street, as
Oh,
in
yeah.
33rd degree Mason.
And we know,
George Floyd was a Mason.
oh,
The other,
really? I did
yeah,
not know that.
Derek Chauvin, the cop, he was a Mason. So you just kind of wonder if the deep state, is working with Freemasonry
Yeah.
and putting all this together to divide the public according to race and create rioting and outrage.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, the deep state likes to use symbolism, and metaphysically, they have to tell us what they're doing. And if you're paying attention to the symbolism, because I guess it's kind of like I guess they think they can't do something without telling us in symbolism what they're doing.
yeah,
And, it's just like those other things, other consistencies in Las Vegas, for example, and,
hmm
and in other things. It's just, if you're watching, you'll pick up on this kind of stuff, and I think that there's going to be questions that people need to ask about this going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Let me just wrap up though by getting your opinion
Okay.
on this. I just mentioned about the mainstream media losing revenue because people are turning to alternative media. Where do you see the mainstream going forward? Do you see them continuing to be able to exist and tell their lies, or do you see a cleansing coming, or do you see them
Yeah.
just going away? What I'm just curious what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah, that's something I think about a lot. I mean, they're going to be caught, and they're going to have to backpedal. The thing about was the mainstream media was upset because Trump referred to the rioters as thugs when Obama used that exact same word,
Yeah.
referring to rioters.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what X22 talked about last night, was the inconsistencies, and it's going to catch up with them. I would love to see, some true repentance and faith. I would love to see cleansing in the mass media, but at the same time, I know they're not going to go down without a fight. They're
Right.
going to deny it till the very end.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows what'll happen. Yeah.
I think I personally, I think, of course, everyone needs to get out and vote in person and make sure their votes are counted for Trump, because this election is probably the most important in the entire history of our republic. But I think in Trump's second term, assuming we get that, and I do believe that that will happen, because who actually believes Biden is going to get elected? I'm just not buying that. But just to say, I do think it's going to be then we're going to see a lot of things change. We're going to see the Federal Reserve, see a lot of things change with that.
Right.
We're going to see I think we're going to see the full exposure of the mainstream media, which is already happening, but that will just continue. And then also, I think I do believe there's already indictments on a lot of people. We just, still,
we're waiting for that first indictment that's going to
right.
open everyone's eyes.
And it could be anybody. It could be Obama. It could be Hillary. It could be George Soros.
Could be Soros. Yeah.
And the more I think about it, I have to wonder if it could be George Soros, because he's literally on the record on 60 Minutes talking about how he, what's the word? He was basically taken under the wings of some, I don't know, Godfather maybe. I'm not exactly sure, but in the Nazis, and he was there complicitly just bearing witness to them taking property from the Jews. And somehow, and this is one of those things that, people have to look up and see for themselves, but he was able to come over here and then become a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
And it's just, it makes one wonder what else has been going on. And there's a whole lot of things that's been going on behind the scenes, a lot of treason and treachery. And I do believe in the second term, we're going to see a lot of things happen. And I think in 5 years, by the time Trump has completed a second term, this country is going to change a lot for the better. At least that's my hope.
Yeah, that's my hope as well. Yeah.
All right, Nikki. I think we'll wrap it up right about here.
Okay.
But this has been a fun conversation.
It's been great talking to you. Yeah.
Same here. And I'd love to have you back on sometime.
Okay, sure.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I'm Jonathan Shannon. Don't forget our website, thecitizenreport.weebly.com. And have a great day, everyone. And I'll see you right back here again next time.